Hello, wonderful people. Thank you so much for coming to Baby Child and Co. once again. Today, we have a very, very fantastic person sharing some fantastic recipes. Over the months and weeks, so many people have asked me about what to feed their children because I've talked about weaning, I've talked about nutritional deficiencies, and there have been so many requests. I kept saying that I would do a video, but then I thought that, I mean, because I'm not a chef, it's better I brought somebody with more experience than myself. So I've brought somebody today to share some recipes for your toddlers and your babies. Actually, even though we are focused on toddlers and babies, it's not only about them because some of them are meals for the whole family. And sometimes we prepare food for our children and then they don't eat it and we end up eating it. And so their food should be healthy as well. I'm just waiting for a few people to log on, but I'm going to take the opportunity to share to my page. And if you just come on, kindly share to your pages as well. Tag your friends, tag your relations, tag those you know have small children so that we can all benefit. So I'm just sharing right now to my page, my wall, and you can share as well. Yes. So, if we have never met, my name is Sayram. I'm a pediatrician at Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and I have a passion. I just love talking about the health of babies and children. And I do this mainly online. I blog and then I do videos as well. So the page is Baby Child and Co on Facebook, and then the YouTube channel is also called Baby Child and Co. So, like I said, today we have Yasmi. I'm going to let Yasmi introduce herself, and then we can start.
Okay, thank you, Doc. So hi guys, my name is Yasmi, like Doc said, Yasmi Ajimambwating, and I'm a mother. Okay, no, let me rewind. I'm a wife first, and then a mother of two boys at the moment, and I'm a YouTuber. My YouTube channel is Taste and Bloom. I'm also a writer, and then I'm also a stay-at-home mom. Like I work from home, so that's what I want to call myself. I'm a stay-at-home mom. Yeah, and everything in between. Yes,
I
so
don't
that's
know
about
why
it.
Yasmi chose to say that she's a wife first anyway, but
Because I mean, my boss is my name, so I have to clarify that first. Yeah.
okay, all right. I'm sure your biggest fan is watching, so you want to satisfy,
Yes.
fulfill all righteousness. Yes. So
Yes.
I'm still just waiting for a few people to join. Like Yasmin said, her channel is Taste and Bloom, and I think one of the very first recipes I saw on Taste and Bloom, I just loved it so much. It was sweetening something, some porridge with ripe plantain. And if you have watched my shows, I've always talked about how bad it is when our children eat a lot of sugar. In fact, it's not even recommended that you introduce sugar to your children's meals quite early. You need to wait a while. It's not one of the things that you want them to eat in excess. In fact, it's something that they should eat sparingly and mostly on occasions. And so when I saw that, I was very happy to have encountered someone who is like-minded. And so her channel is focused on babies and toddlers. And yes, that's what she does. So if you have just joined us, we are just about starting. We were waiting for you, actually. So please share to your pages, tag your friends, share to your walls as well. And you are allowed to ask questions. In fact, we love it when you ask questions. Just put the questions in the comment section and we will answer those questions for you. So you are very welcome. You, even if you don't have a question, say a hi, say a hello. I mean, tell us what you think about what we are doing. And if you don't really get how to go about the recipe, you can ask and Yasmi will explain that to you as well. Thank you so much. So Yasmi, can we start?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So
Um,
start with one of our how do I put it, packed recipes, and it's Ghanaian friendly as well. I think a lot of people will relate to it, but we are adding a little tweak to make it more nutritious. So this is beet mashke. So for those of you who don't know, mashke is mashed fancy cake. Okay, so we are going to be adding beetroot to it. So let's all calm down. I know that beetroot is how do I put it? It has a sort of earthy taste. So people will be like, oh, they don't want to introduce it. But trust me, this is good. So for our beetroot mashke, for the ingredients, we have a bowl of fancy kenke. Of course, the ingredients I'm mentioning is what I used for this particular recipe. But you are free to add on, if you want to use 3 bowls of kenke, I mean, that's up to you and stuff like that. And it also depends on the family size as well, okay? So we have 1 bowl of fancy kenke, 4 pitted dates. So when I say pitted dates, I mean dates without the seeds. So when you can get those in malls, or if you want, even if you get normal dates from the market, you can soak them for a bit and then take out the seeds. Then we also have 1/8 of a medium-sized beetroot. Another ingredient is 1/8 of a medium-sized mango. Then 2 tablespoons probiotic yogurt. Then we have 300 milliliters of age-appropriate milk. So by age-appropriate milk, I'm considering, yeah, I'm going to assume that you know which milk suits your baby, your toddler, and the family as large. Please do not use any milk that will cause harm to the baby. So that's why I put age-appropriate milk. You cannot use a family milk, like for example, something made from Nestle Ghana to put in this for your 6 month old or baby or something like that. It's not good for the child. So use age appropriate milk. So with the measurements of the milk as well, you're looking at if you want to make it into a thinner consistency, just add more. Or if you want, you can add water instead of just the milk. So a bit of milk, a bit of water is also allowed. And then there's an extra ingredient, crushed peanuts or granuts or peanut butter, which is optional. As I explained the procedure of how to prepare it, I'll let you know why I said it's optional. So to make this, it's very simple. Just get your beetroot and then steam it. You of course you wash, peel, you chop, and then you steam for about 5 minutes. So the reason why we are steaming the beetroot is that the babies and toddlers are involved. If is you are doing this for an elderly person, it's okay not to steam the beetroot. But once the babies and toddlers are involved, it's advisable to steam the beetroot before using them. And of course, before any meal preparation, you should know you should have washed your hands. All your utensils should also be clean before you start doing anything. So after you've steamed your beetroot, you peel, wash, and cut your fancy kenke into smaller pieces. So once you get your blender out, the fancy kenke goes in there, and all the other ingredients go in there as well. But if you are using crushed peanuts, do not add them into the blender yet. Set that aside. Unless you are using the peanut butter, which you can put into the blender and blend. But also bear in mind that with the peanuts also, you have to be sure that your baby or your toddler is not allergic to it because there are lots of nut allergies in the system and stuff like that. So be sure that they are not allergic to it before you put them in there. That is why I said it was an optional ingredient. So you can either put it in there or omit it. To be honest, the end result, as you can see, I'm sure you can see from the screen, it looks like yogurt. I don't know which child is going to what's it called? No, it's not going to want to dig into this. And it is so creamy and it's so yummy. You love it. Packed with nutrients. Yes, Doc, that's for the first recipe.
Okay, so I think what I like about this recipe is that I'm seeing carbohydrates, which is the fancy kenke and the beets, and the mango as well. Then I'm seeing a lot of protein from the milk and the groundnuts. I'm seeing fats from the groundnuts and the milk as well, and I'm seeing our fruits that I mean some children when you serve it just plain they may not like. I'm seeing mango, and then like you said the whole thing looks like yogurt and it looks so yummy, and it's something that the whole family can enjoy as well. The only thing I found is that yes, I really like the question about the peanuts or the groundnuts, because there are some children who may have groundnuts allergy, and so perhaps you could prepare it the first time without the groundnuts, and then the next time you add the groundnuts. Then if there's a problem, you will know that it's the groundnuts. But what I like about it is that this is looking like a balanced meal. And you know that children, they don't eat a lot. So if your child is able to even eat just two spoonfuls of this, your child has got a lot of nutrients for the day. Regina Latte has joined us, matron. She says this is very useful and insightful. Thank you for joining and thank you for liking. I've seen Ajwa. Hi, Ajwa. And then I've seen a couple of my friends as well. Say a hi, say a hello to us. So we are moving to the next recipe. Yes, before then, I just forgot to mention Zinkovit. Zinkovit has proudly supported us over the last few months. They pay for our data and they make this possible. And we are very thankful to Zinkovit. Zinkovit is a brand of multivites with a lot of zinc. And we know that zinc, we use zinc to manage diarrhea, to manage pneumonia. Zinc protects our children from respiratory tract infections and help them grow. So thank you so much to Zinkovit. And from our BEET MASHKE, we are moving to Yam Stir Fry.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Doc. Before we move to the yam stir fry, I have a few notes too. Just 2 points about the beetroot mashke. So, from my research, I realized that beet is not good for babies below 8 months. So I started to feed my boys when they are above 8 months. But just to know what do you call it? I want to be a little decorum about the word. When their excreta will be a bit red when you feed them with it. But that's okay, that's normal because their babies, their tummies are still getting used to it. But it's advisable to use it when they're 8 months and above. And then in place of dates, you can just use honey, and that's fine. If your baby is a little, it's above 1 year, you can use honey instead of the dates. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, that's true. The poo will be pink or red, and the urine may also be pink or red. Yes. So thank you for that caution. Now we go to our yam stir fry.
Yes. So this recipe I put together a while back. We didn't know what we were going to have for supper that day, and I was like, let me just do something. So I had some yam in my fridge from the previous day. So I decided to revamp it. So I'm going to be calling it yam stir fry. So I have cooked grated yam. I mentioned cooked grated yam. Be sure the yam is cooked before you use for this recipe. Then I have one grated carrot for the ingredients, that is half a medium-sized onion, one small tomato chopped, half of a small green bell pepper also chopped, 2 eggs, one sardine, 1 tablespoon fish powder, powdered pepper to taste, salt to taste, and then 1 tablespoon of cooking oil. So before I delve into this, you can use any vegetables of your choice. I know that kids can have favorites within the vegetables or something. So whatever vegetables your child is okay taking, and then the family is okay taking, you can use for this recipe. But for the procedure, you just get out a bowl. Because I use sardines, I flaked the sardines. I mashed it with a fork in a bowl. And then I broke the eggs into a separate bowl. Okay, after that, I added the flaked sardine to the eggs and beat them together. Like I whisked them together. So I got out a frying pan or any saucepan or whatever. And then you add the cooking oil to heat up. So once the oil is a bit hot, you add in your egg and sardine mixture and then you scramble. So it's just, let me just say, it's just like the starting process of fried rice. Okay, you sort of scramble the egg and the sardine mixture, and then when that is done, you add in your onions and then give it a quick stir. We don't need it to be soft or translucent. The goal is that by the end of the recipe or by the end of the cooking process, it still has a little crunch to it. And then you add your tomatoes and your green bell pepper and then mix everything up. Add your carrots. So, like I was saying, you can use any vegetables of your choice. Then next, I'm adding some fish powder, some powdered pepper, and salt to taste. So in place of fish powder, you can also use shrimp powder as well, and then give it a good mix. Then lastly, you add in your cooked grated yam. Then give it a stir and allow the ingredients to mix up properly. And then that's it. That's the meal for you. Trust me, it's very heavy. It seems like it's not a lot of things put together, but when you eat it, like you get full on it. It's just like eating maybe spaghetti stir fry or something, but we are using our own yam. Yes. So in place of yam, you can use potatoes if that's what you can have access to. Yeah.
So what I would like to ask is the yam. To grate the yam, mustn't it be not too soft so that it doesn't? It's because I'm just imagining what is the consistency to which you cook the yam before you grate it.
Oh, when I said that it was yam I cooked the previous day. So just like it's preferable to use a day old rice for fried rice. For this recipe, I think that the best thing to use is a day old yam, boiled yam or something like that. So because it's been in the fridge, it's a little firmer. So it's easier to get it in form when you grate it.
Okay, okay, okay. So those of us who feed our children pasta every day, pasta is healthy for once a while eating, but pasta should not be something that you feed your child every day. So if you want to introduce variety, if you want to make it a bit healthier and something that will fill up your child, then this is something that you should you should try. Again, I mean, I can see a lot of vegetables and then the protein. Because of the protein, it really will be filling, as you have just said. And so this is something that I would encourage you to try. And children, when they see something new, then they are excited. So instead of using pasta every day, because pasta is not healthy and pasta will not help them also move their bowels freely. So a lot of you will you complain that your children are constipated. So this is something you can try instead of the pasta. It's not necessarily a bad food, but we know that any food that is processed so much, they've removed a lot of fiber and a lot of nutrients. So this is something that you can try. Rita has said hello to us. Hello back, Rita. Thank you so much for joining us. Kindly share to your wall as well. So we go now to ripe plantain and kontomire or spinach puree. The
So
name
this
is
one is
long.
for the babies. The name is long. This one is for
Yes.
the baby. So when I had my second son, it was maybe after 3 months, and then COVID broke in Ghana. So we're always indoors. And then I was trying to figure out ways to introduce the family's um palate to him. But of course, he was young, and this is one of our favorites at home. So I was like, why not give him pureed version of what we all enjoy at home so that he will grow into the taste. So this is something I came up with and he really enjoyed. So we are sharing the what we would usually call the plantain and abom recipe. We are sharing its puree today. So for our ingredients, we have two ripe plantains, two full leaves of kontomire, or you can use 1 cup of spinach, and then a handful of turkey berries. We also have pre-cooked fish or boiled egg. And then we have 1 tomato, 1 onion, and 2 tablespoons of palm oil. So for the recipe, we are going to get out our saucepan, of course, and then put in what I like to do is to line the bottom of the saucepan with my kontomire or the spinach. It's not for any reason. I just like that arrangement so that it will stay intact down there. And then I'll add in my turkey berries, which I've of course washed and then cut. And then I'm going to be adding next my ripe plantain. So what I usually do is to wash the ripe plantain without having peeled it first. I'll wash it first before peeling because bear in mind that there are germs on the peels if you peel without washing first. I don't know if I'm making sense. So it's the right
You
thing
are
to do.
making lots of
Yes,
sense. Yeah.
wash first before you peel it so that you avoid that transfer of germs from the peels to the plantain itself. So of course, you wash, peel, and cut the right plantain as well. So all these three ingredients are going into the saucepan with some water, enough water to cover and then cook for about 10 minutes. We just want the kontomire and the ripe plantain to cook through. So after the 10 minutes, you take off the lid and then you add your onion, tomato, and then cooked fish. Do not use fish that you've not cooked. Cooked fish and then already boiled egg. You can, whichever one you want to use is fine. If there's even any other protein source or you want to use fish powder, that's also fine. You add it in there and allow it to simmer for about 3 minutes. And then once that 3 minutes is over, you add your palm oil. The palm oil doesn't really need cooking, but it's just so that it also warms up a bit. Then you turn off the heat. By then, the water content would have reduced quite a bit. So it's okay to use that same water to blend all your ingredients together. So you blend so smooth and then you serve in a clean bowl. But because of the palm oil in it, I don't advise that you wait for it to cool completely. Like if it's a bit warm, then you feed it, yes, to the child. So yeah. So it's also packed with a lot of nutrients for your baby.
I'm just imagining how I'm just imagining how this is going to taste. But because of the mashed plantain, I can imagine that it is going to taste very sweet. And
Mm.
turkey berries are powerful. They are powerful ingredients for any meal. They contain a lot of plant-based iron. I think it's one of the richest sources of iron when it comes to in the plant kingdom. And they also contain a lot of things that we call anti-inflammatories. They help to fight these diseases that are slow growing. You know, you don't really have malaria, but you are not feeling well, that kind of thing. Yes, and just like the caution that you give for the beets, there are some people who have some digestive problems when they take turkey berries. So especially when you're giving it to your child, I think that you should just use 2 or 3, and then as your child tolerates it, you can introduce more, because definitely it's very healthy, but you wouldn't know whether your child can tolerate it. And if you add so much and it's a child who's going to have digestive problems like tummy ache and so on from it, then it will be worse. So just 1 or 2, but it is a very, very, very good source of iron. And we know that most of our children have iron deficiency anemia, especially the breastfed babies. By the time they're about 7, 8, 9 months, they all have some anemia that because as we know, breast milk does not have a lot of iron. Even though the iron it contains is very good iron, and it's usually well absorbed. So because this has a lot of iron, it's best that for dessert you maybe squeeze an orange or something, because we know that vitamin C helps with the absorption of iron. So when you feed this to your baby, you can just squeeze an orange and use it as dessert for the baby, so that you are sure that your baby is absorbing all the nutrients that you are giving to your child. So this is something that you definitely must try at home, and it's loaded with a lot of nutrients and a lot of vitamins and minerals that our Kontomire and our spinach, they all have very good nutritional profiles. So something that you must definitely try. And this is the one that sent me researching porridge.
Yes, doc. So I know that among at least Ghanaian women or African women, the condo porridge is very popular when they want to introduce solids to their babies. So I'm like, why not give it a little twist? Because I know that condo porridge is just carbohydrates. So, and it's encouraged that we add in a little bit of fats and oils when we are cooking for our kids. So this recipe came up because of that. And from my research, I understand it's a very old recipe. So I just decided that I'll include it in our interview or our discussion so that we'll all bring it back. Okay, thank you for the ENG. So we have for the ingredients, of course, let me introduce the food again. Palm oil fortified or infused condo porridge. So for our ingredients, we have half a cup of condo. So of course, you can tweak the measurements however suits you, okay? And then we have 5 grains of selling, what we call wentia in Chi or in Chi in Ghana, okay? And then we have 1 tablespoon of palm oil and then some water. So for our procedure, how to prepare it, you pour the condo porridge into a clean saucepan, add water and mix till smooth. So personally, when my babies are 6 months, what I prefer doing is to sift or no, sieve the mixture first before I use it in the porridge because I find it to be a bit heavy. But if your baby is maybe about 7 months, 8 months, I think that it's okay if you just mix the condo with water and then straight away start to prepare the porridge. So after if you sieve or whatever, after mixing the condo porridge with the water, you add in the grains of selling and then you bring to a boil while you continuously stir. If you don't stir continuously, there will be lumps formed in there. So please do not stop stirring. And then what I realized that what helps to stop the lumps from forming is the whisk, the one you'd use to mix your cake batter or the one you use to whisk your eggs. That one makes it easier to prevent the lumps from forming. So instead of I know our mothers used to use the wooden stick or whatever, but I don't know if we've lost the skill or something, but I think the whisk helps me to not form the lumps. So I think that's also better. And then once the porridge thickens up, you can adjust the consistency by adding a bit more water to it. And then when you see it's almost ready, by almost ready, I mean when, from my experience, I think you smell something different when it's almost ready. You don't smell the raw condo porridge again. So that's all I can say. So once it's almost ready, you add in your palm oil and then stir to combine. It gives a beautiful yellow or, as my son would say, mustard color. So once it's cooked, before you serve your baby, of course, you have to take out the grains of selim. And then for this also, because it has palm oil, do not wait so it cools down completely before you feed your baby. So when it's still warm and then you feed your baby, you can add any sweetener of your choice to make it sweet a bit for your baby. And Doc, I don't know from your side, when I made this recipe, I wasn't sure if I should add milk because I researched and I didn't find anything concerning the combination of palm oil and milk, if it was okay. So I didn't add any milk in there, but I don't know if you can help us in that
So you
slide.
can add milk, right? That's what you're saying, that you can add milk.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
asking, are you saying you can add milk?
No, I'm asking because of the palm oil in there. I'm asking if it's okay, it's safe to add milk to it.
It is safe. What my experience has been is that a lot of mothers complain that when they add milk to the condo porridge, it becomes very runny. You know, it becomes very much more liquid. And some will
Oh,
complain that their children don't like it that way. And then some also complain that when they add the milk, their children don't eat it or their babies don't eat it. But when they give it to their babies plain. So if you have a problem with your baby rejecting cocoa when you add milk to it, you know we want the food for them to be to have a lot more nutrients. So if your baby does not like cocoa with milk, then you can add palm oil, as Yasmin has just taught us. The color looks very attractive, and for babies, anything that looks very attractive, they want to take it. But I think, as she's saying, you can also add milk. If your baby tolerates it, then you can add it. But sometimes, too, when we add a lot of things, then the taste is not very pleasant for them. So I would suggest that you do it without milk one time and then you do it with milk one time, just a bit, and see how it goes. If your baby doesn't like it, then your baby doesn't like it. You can wait and try again in a week or two and see if your baby is going to try it. So just by adding palm oil, you have increased the amount of nutrients or energy your baby will get from this so many times. So if you have a baby who is not putting on weight as you would like, you know, when I say as you would like, that depends on what your child's weighing book is saying, because a lot of us like our babies to be fat, but fat is not always healthy. So your baby's weight should be interpreted according to what is in the book. There are curves that your baby should follow. Anytime you go for weighing, you should ask your nurse to explain the weight to you. Your baby should not be too small. So there's a red line on the bottom. At the bottom, your baby should not fall below the red line. And then there's a red line on top. Your baby should not be above that one too. Red line on top, your baby is too fat. Red line below, your baby is too small. So if you have your baby, a baby who is approaching the red line below, or is on it or behind underneath the red line below, then this is something that you should try for your baby. Another group of babies who will benefit very much from this are those with cardiac problems or heart problems. We have heard of hole in heart. So usually the children with hole in heart, we struggle to feed them because they don't have, because of their hole in heart, they don't have the energy to take a lot of food. So we always want to fortify the food for them. So this is one way of fortifying your cocoa. When you do this, you have added a lot of energy to it. And what happens in hole in heart is that they need more energy than your average baby. The hole in heart is a condition that requires a lot of energy. So they may even eat well, but they will not put on weight just because they have the hole in heart. So this is something that you can do for them, or you should try for them, because the nutrients in it is very dense. So children with hole in heart, some of them, they are in heart failure. And because they are in heart failure, we don't want to give them a lot of water. And if you give a lot of cocoa, that is a lot of water. But if you can make the cocoa dense and give less of it, so this is something that you should definitely try if you have a baby at home who has a hole in heart or some other heart disease that the baby was born with. This is something that you should definitely try for this baby. And then other born with other diseases that your baby may be born with that make it difficult for your baby to put on weight. You should definitely try this for them as well. So this is what we mean when we say that we are fortifying our food. And our resident dietitian has just joined us, and she says that, she's loving our recipes. They are innovative, they are nutrient dense. Hi, Pearl, we are happy to have you. So definitely try this. I like this so much because this is cocoa that we all know. Our grandmothers know, our mothers know. So it's something that is we are at home with, and then we can make it nutrient dense. And then these selim grains. Selim grains have been reputed to have a lot of benefits in terms of health. Selim grains are said to protect or help your baby recover from respiratory illnesses, cough and cold. Your children, as for them, they're always coughing. They always have a cold. So that's one. Asthma, bronchitis, and joint problems. So even you, the adults, you can put selim grains in your food. So this is what it is called in Twi. That's what is on the slide, and I don't want to try and pronounce it, but we call it echo. Echo is everywhere. We use it for our soup. We use it for everything. So this is definitely something that you should try. If your baby is struggling to put on weight, you should try this for your baby, because again, just a little and your baby has got a lot of nutrients in it. So thank you so much for sharing this one. And shall we go to our pizza? Tarts, pie.
Yes.
I want to eat pizza.
I know the kids are always raging about having pizza, and you have to buy it and order it from outside, and now it's a bit expensive. So this is something I'm sure they will enjoy. So we are going to be calling it a sweet and savory plantain pizza. I have a friend who says this is a tart. I have another friend who says this is a pie. Somebody also says it's called quiche. So I'm leaving all those names out there for us to choose. So for our ingredients, we have 2 cooked ripe plantains, semi-ripe plantains, and then we have 2 tablespoons salted butter or margarine, 4 eggs, salt to taste, black pepper to taste, white pepper to taste, 1 grated carrot, half of a small yellow bell pepper, and then 1 diced sausage. So for starters, you can use any vegetables you prefer. You can use any cooked protein of your choice. I used sausage in this, but you can use chicken, as long as it's cooked, that's fine. You can use chicken or beef or whatever. Just make sure it's also tender enough for the kids. For the procedure, you first have to preheat your oven. We are baking now, okay? You first preheat your oven on medium-low heat. Then whilst the oven is preheating, you mash your cooked semi-ripe plantain. I'm using semi-ripe plantain here because we don't want the texture to be too soft. If you use ripe plantain or overripe plantain, it will be too mushy and you will not have the crust forming as firm as the normal pizza we have. So we are going to be using semi-ripe plantain. And then you, in a clean bowl, you mash it. I use the clean bowl because I thought it was easier mashing it in there, but you can grind it in your asanka, your earthenware pot or whatever with the grinder. And then you mash it until it has no lumps in there. And then you add in your salted butter or margarine. So what I did was to not cook the plantain with salt. That is why I used salted butter or margarine, because margarine has an amount of salt in there, so you can use any of the two. So if you added, for some reason, you added salt to your plantains before cooking, you can use unsalted butter, which is also fine. So you mix properly together so both ingredients are combined. Then you get a greased baking pan. So I used a round, to mimic the pizza, I used a round baking pan and then greased it with a bit of butter. And then I lined my mixture of plantain and butter into the baking pan. So line it in such a way that it covers both the bottom and then the sides of the pan as well. We want it to come out looking like a full pizza. So bear that in mind. Don't just line the bottom of the pan, but raise the sides a bit so that when it's cooked, it looks like a pizza crust itself. And then once you've done that, you put it in the oven and then you prep the rest of the ingredients. So putting it in the preheated oven, you leave it there for about maybe 5 to 7 minutes so that the plantain would be a little crusty. It will harden up slightly than you took it in there. So just about 5 to 7 minutes is okay. So prepping the other ingredients, you pick out a bowl and then you crack in your eggs. You season with some salt, and then I use black and white pepper, but you can use cayenne pepper, black pepper, whichever one is okay for you. Or if you want, you can omit it. It's a preference kind of thing. And then you whisk to combine. And then you add in your grated carrots and then your bell peppers and your diced sausages. So like I said, you can use any vegetables of your choice. You can add in onions, you can add in all the other colors of bell peppers, and then whatever protein you want to use, you can put it in there. So once that is combined, you bring out your baking plantain, the one that you put in the oven, you bring it out, and then pour this egg mixture into this same baking pan. So it's going to be like the baking pan is the first layer, the plantain is the second layer, and then the eggs is the top of it. So when you put that in there, and then you send it back into the oven for about 15 minutes, what makes you realize it's cooked is that the eggs will puff up. Even if you can't really gauge the time. Once the eggs puff up to the level of the plantain, you know that your pizza is ready. Once you get it out, cut out into desirable shapes and sizes, and then enjoy. That's it.
So this recipe, when I saw it, I was very much amused because the thing about pizza is that children love pizza. But just like I have lots of parents contacting me and saying that their children are not putting on weight, I have just about that number of parents contacting me and saying that their children are overweight. And overweight is as bad as underweight. Overweight will give your child health problems, breathing problems, and their joints will not be able to carry them. They may not sleep well, so they go to school and then they are feeling sleepy because they have this breathing problem that prevents them from sleeping well when they are overweight. And then their peers will tease them mercilessly for being overweight. And overweight, when they start just now, in a few years, they have hypertension, they have diabetes, and these are things that we want to prevent by all means. But children love pizza. My children are always asking for pizza. And because pizza is, the flour is so refined, you buy one box of pizza, they finish it and they are not full. And it's like, sometimes you have to buy, another one. So this is something that replaces pizza. It still gives you the pizza vibe, but it is more filling because it's plantain. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is something that I'm definitely going to try. I haven't tried it yet, so I don't know whether they will like it. But it's not a good idea to give children refined foods, especially. So these kind of foods, I'm sorry if you are a pastry person, but pastries should be pastries should be occasional. We are not saying don't let them eat it at all, but once a while. And if you have a child who loves pizza, this is something that you can put in, and even you can even let it replace pizza if they accept it, because this is far more healthier than the pizza that you buy. And of course, you make it yourself. You know that our countries, especially Ghana is very hot and hard right now, so you make it yourself. So you should definitely try this pizza stroke tart stroke pie stroke quiche for your children, and let us know how they accept it. So some friends have joined. Laurentia said, wow. Joyce is saying that this pizza, she's definitely going to try it. Please try it, because I mean, I'm going to try it too. And when I try it, I'm going to let you know. Linda there, hi. Thank you for liking what we do. Lots of friends, Pearl, Bridget, they've all joined. Thank you so much. Please share this to your walls as well, so that more people can see it. And once again, let me just mention Zinkovit, who have been very supportive to us. They are paying for our airtime, and we know that Zinkovit is a multivite that has a lot of zinc. We know how important zinc is for the nutrition and the healthy growth of our children. So if you haven't heard of Zinkovit, this is something that your children should be taking. Okay, so we move on to our next recipe. But I'm not happy that I don't have any questions so far, because I want questions for her. I mean, for instance, I had a question when she said you remove the pan with the plantain and then you add in the egg. So I was going to ask, okay, are you taking the plantain outside and adding the egg? Then she explained that there are layers. So the plantain is the top layer and then you pour the egg on top. So, but if there's something that you don't quite get, even though the show is going to be there all the time, if there's something that you don't quite get, just put the question there and then she'll explain, so that, I mean, because we want to be able to make this, we don't want to just listen and then we are not able to make it because we didn't get a procedure right. Yes. So thank you for joining. If you just joined us as well, hello, you are welcome. You can still share, you can still ask your questions and we will get to them for you. So we move to our next
Homemade
recipe.
powder. Yes. This is something very simple, but comes in very handy at home. I know that there's a lot of protein powders on the market, even for elderly people who are gymming and stuff like that. But this is something you can make and keep at home for your kids and for yourself as well. So for ingredients, we have only four ingredients here. We have black-eyed beans, red beans, soya beans, and bambara beans. So I used half cup of each of the beans. So I feel like you can use, once your baby is not allergic to any of these mentioned, you can use any other variety of beans that you can lay hands on. So simple procedure. You get out your clean frying pan and then toast or roast all the ingredients I've mentioned. So the trick I've learned is that whenever you are toasting something or frying something, once you smell an aroma, it means it's good to go. It means the next ingredient can be added to it. Just like you fry onions, and once you begin to smell the onion, I don't know, aroma, you know that's okay, now you can add in your tomatoes. So just like that, when you begin to smell the aroma of the toasted beans, you know that it's done. So you're going to be toasting this on very low heat. The danger about this is that if you keep this on high heat, you're going to burn the beans and it's going to have a bitter aftertaste. So roast on very low heat. Once your roasting is done, allow to cool completely. So you can use when it's cooled down, you can use the small, usually the blenders come with a smaller part, which is called a dry mill. You can use that to blend. Or if you have a trusted dry mill place, you can send it there and then they mill it for you. But I mean, this is homemade, so it's better that you like. I mean, your eyes are in the procedure yourself, so get out your dry mill and then blend. One thing I also noticed is that if you blend it once, you still have some of the pieces of beans in there. So what you can do is that after the first blend, you sift, and then the chaff you blend again. So I blended mine for about 3 times before I got all the beans into a fine powder. So once it's also is blended as well, there's also a bit of heat or a little bit of temperature in there. So what you can do is to allow it to completely cool down. We don't want to store this when it still has some heat in there. or else it will gather moisture and then to spoil the whole thing. So when it's completely cooled down, you get a container, an airtight container, and then you put your protein powder in there, and then you cover it and then use it whenever. One thing I want to caution is that you cannot, like for example, finish cooking cocoa and then add it as if it's maybe formula or maybe sugar or something like that. If you have to cook porridge with it, be sure that you leave the porridge is on fire and then you put maybe a tablespoon in there and cook it through till the porridge is done, and then you can serve your baby with it. Do not serve raw. And another way you can also use this is instead of breadcrumbs, you can have this as a substitute. So, like when you're going to fry chicken for the family and you have to use breadcrumbs, you can use this instead of the breadcrumbs. You can, I have a recipe on my channel, plantain and sausage kebabs. I used this as a coating before I fried it, and it was very delicious. Like it looked very good. You can try that as well. And then there's this, if you buy Ghanaian street food, sometimes they cook the egg and then fry it. So it has a little coating around it, which normally would call Scotch eggs. So instead of using like flour or whatever they used to coat and then fry, you can also use this protein powder to coat and then fry your egg. It's also added protein to the even extra good protein source already. And then I also tried using what's it called? I sliced some bread and then coated it with egg and then added this protein powder and it looked like akara basically. So that's what I even called it, akara toast. And it was also a good way to use this protein powder. And I've also used it in poto, soup, stews. So anything you feel like, it's just like having fish powder on hand. If you feel like you can use fish powder in that recipe, you can also substitute the protein powder in there. Once it's cooking and then you add it, you're good to go. Yeah, that's it.
So this is a lot of protein. But if you are roasting it before you mill it, how come you cannot finish cooking your food and sprinkle it on it? Let's say you've made your rice, your white rice and stew. How come you cannot? Because you have roasted it. How come?
Yeah, I feel like it's just personally, it's just to be on the safer side that is cooked through because some of us, even our tummies, do not even tolerate beans that well. So just imagine for the babies and the toddlers. So just to be sure that it has cooked through, I would advise that you don't take it in raw. Just cook it a bit in your meals before you serve it to your baby or toddler.
Okay, perfect. So this is a protein powder that is homemade. And what I like about this is, like she said, you know what is going into it. You know, sometimes when you buy something from a shop, my friend, a friend of mine used to say that if you read the ingredients and there is something on it that you don't understand, don't buy it. I mean, it sounds like a joke, but the thing is that a lot of the commercially prepared things, to prolong how long it stays without getting spoiled, certain things are added to it. So, you know, and some of those things may not necessarily be healthy. So if you make it yourself at home, you know exactly what is going inside. I have a question. There's a question here, but I have a question first. How long can this stay? When you put it in an airtight container, is it 1 year, 6 months, 3 months?
So when I made it, I didn't make it in a very large quantity. Once insects don't get in there, that's why I said use an airtight container. You can just leave it on your shelf, on your kitchen counter, and then nothing will happen to it. And then make sure it has cooled down completely. Because if that doesn't happen, then you're going to get moisture build up in there and bacteria will form, and then it will not be good for consumption. So once you get it done, make sure it's cooled down completely. You can just leave it on the kitchen counter or on the shelf, and then whenever you feel like using it, then you can use it.
Use it. Okay. So this is somehow like Tom Brown, but it's not Tom Brown. It's just protein. A lot of protein. It has some carbohydrates in there anyway, because beans also contain carbohydrates. All the beans and bambara beans. Soya beans also has very good quality protein. Soya beans, some people even classify it as when it comes to proteins, we have the plant-based proteins and then the animal-based proteins. And the animal-based proteins are of a higher quality in terms of how well they are absorbed. But soya bean, even though it's a plant, it has properties that are just like animal protein. So that is why it's a favorite in our Tom Browns and so on. People use it for milk, soya milk. We all know soya milk. And even babies that are lactose intolerant, some of them may tolerate soya milk. So soya is a very good source of protein. And when it comes to protein absorption, like I said before, I'll also just say that normally when you want your children to absorb the protein that you are giving them, make sure that it goes with something that has a lot of vitamin C, like an orange. Just an orange will give your child almost all the vitamin C that your child needs for that day. So when you use some of the homemade protein powder, then you just put an orange, squeeze an orange for your child as well. So Joyce is saying, can I mix it with acne powder and prepare? Joyce, you like
Okay.
acne?
Honestly, I don't know what acne powder is. Like, I've not seen it
Oh,
before.
okay. It's just corn flour. Corn flour,
Oh,
that's
okay.
all. Just
So then
corn flour.
surely, so
For
surely you
cooking
can do
banku.
that. Surely you can do that, and then have a little added protein in there before you continuously stir to prepare your acne. Yes. So yes, you
Yeah.
can add that.
Yeah. So for the diabetics as well who want to reduce how much carbohydrates they are taking and want to move towards more protein. So this is something that you can also, like Joyce has suggested, you can use a bit to mix with your powder, your corn flour, and then you can make your banku, and it is healthier than just using only carbohydrates all through. So these are the recipes that we have planned to share with you today. I've enjoyed seeing so many of you and lots of you giving us thumbs up. Thank you so much. If I haven't mentioned your name, it's just because I don't know. It's just because. So thank you for joining us. And if you are even joining on replay, yes, you are so very welcome. You can still share. You can still tag your friends and your relations who have small children. And we didn't get a lot of questions, but you can still put your questions in the comments even after the show has ended. And I promise that we will get to them for you. So all the people who have been contacting me, especially those who say that their children are too big. These are definitely things that you should try. You should try and give your children less sugar. You should try and give your children less flour. You should try and reduce, they all need oil, but some of the things that we fry are soaked too much. So you should try and reduce that as well. On the other hand, if you have a child who is struggling to gain weight, then you want to add in oil for what's a lot of oil or a bit more oil. Too much of everything is bad. So even for a child who is struggling to gain weight, too much oil is bad. You should vary the foods and so on. So these are things that you should try. They are very, very healthy for your children. They are healthy for the adults as well. The first recipe that we shared, the MASHKE, beet, even though a few people may not be able to tolerate it's very nutritious and healthy. It helps with hypertension. It improves your exercise tolerance, so you can exercise more before you get fatigued and so on. And our selim, our echo, that's how we call it in Ewe, that as well is something that is very good that you can put in your food. So thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you again. Yes, before we go, Yasme is at Taste and Bloom. Lots of recipes there for your children, for your babies and toddlers. It's baby and toddler focused, but there are recipes they are family foods that the whole family can enjoy as well. So definitely do check her out, subscribe to her channel. And if you have not subscribed yet to Baby Child and Co, please do so. I talk about the things that matter to you. Sometimes it's the questions that people ask me that I try and talk about. So you should subscribe as well. Thank you for joining. Bye.